Tuition Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
So this is yet another biological session. I remain your biology tutor, Ecology, and today we will be looking at ecology of population, and by extension we will be studying extensively ecological succession. And the following are the outlines that we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at the meaning of succession. We're going to be looking at climax community. We're going to be looking at the characteristics, the outcomes, the types of succession, and the different types of succession. So after then, we'll now move forward. I will solve into the world of overcrowding, factors that support overcrowding, the effect of overcrowding. We're going to be looking at food shortage briefly, and last we're going to be looking at family planning and birth control. So for a start, we're going to be looking at ecological succession. Are you with me? We're going to be looking at ecological succession for a start. So the question is, what is ecological succession? What is ecological succession? The word succession talks about something that is progressive. It talks about something that has a start point and must have a what? An end point. It talks about something that has a start point and must have an end point. It talks about something that has a start point and must have an end point. Now, in all totality, what is ecological succession? Ecological succession is a progressive series of changes occurring in the structure. Ecological succession is a progressive series of changes occurring in the structure, in the forms, in the composition, in the diversity, and in the number of species in an area. Now, succession will continue not until a stable community has been reached. Not until a stable community is reached. So the final community in every successional event is the climax community. The climax community is another name for a stable community. I think definition again. Ecological succession is a progressive series of changes in the composition, in the structure, in the form, in the diversity, and the number of species in an area until a stable community is reached. Now that brings us to our second outline, climax community. What is a climax community? A climax community is a stable community. A climax community is the final community that you see in a successional event. Are you with me? A climax community is established when a stable community is attained. Whenever a stable community has been reached, we'll say such a community has gotten to its climax. It has gotten to its peak. At that peak, at that climax, vegetation is high. Are you with me? Vegetation is at its peak in a climax community. The community is also in equilibrium. Are you with me? The community is in equilibrium. Both the internal factor and the external factor, the biotic factor and the non-biotic factor, or the abiotic factor as the case may be, are in equilibrium. Now let's quickly look at the characteristics of succession. Now for every succession, it must occur in a newly formed habitat. In other words, we are referring to that habitat as being a virgin area. The area is virgin. The area has not been colonized before. For every succession, it must occur in a newly formed habitat. Another is this: there is usually an increase in the number of organisms. Now, if for example now we happen to see an abandoned farmland, the number of organisms that will first colonize it are usually small. With time they increase, with time there is room for diversity, so to speak. So there is a progressive increase in number of organisms that are involved in succession. Another is this. Now, one thing that is so unique about succession is that it is orderly. It is not just haphazard. It is not random. It is planned. It is systematic. It is orderly, and it is progressive. There is also room for competition in succession. As a matter of fact, those organisms that are better fit to the environment will stay, while those that lack food and that lack structures that could make them evolve and produce offspring in large amount will wear off or die off. Now, plants also form the pioneer organisms. Now, what do I mean by the pioneer organisms? The word pioneer talks about first of its kind. Are you with me? Pioneer organisms are organisms that are the first to invade a site. You want to build your house, you bought a land. The first person to get to that land is called the pioneer organisms. The first group of organisms to live in that land, to colonize the land, is called the pioneer organism. Now for succession, the first organisms are usually plants. Never forget, they are usually plants. Now over time, there will also be diversity in organisms. What do I mean by diversity? They will be changing forms and they will change in structure, so to speak. Now what are the types of succession that we got? There are basically two types of succession. We have got the primary succession and we have the secondary succession. The primary succession starts on a bare surface. They start on a virgin land. Are you agreeing? They start on a virgin land. A land that has never been colonized before. A land that has never been colonized before. Primary succession starts on a bare surface, on a bare ground, on a virgin land. Secondary succession starts on an already colonized surface. The surface has already been colonized before, then they now continue from there. Are you with? Primary succession starts on a bare surface. Secondary succession starts on an already colonized surface. Now for primary succession, it usually starts with lower organisms. Then the organisms that will come in will now be organisms that are better developed with time. But it usually starts with what? Lower organisms. For secondary succession, it usually starts with what? Fairly organisms. Are you with me? It usually starts with fairly complex organisms. For primary succession again, it starts with lower organisms. For secondary succession, it usually starts with fairly complex organisms. Now one thing about primary succession is that it is slow. It is slow before it gets to the climax community. I said every succession ends at the climax. For primary succession, it's very, very slow before it gets to what? Climax community. Because it's starting from the root, it's starting from the scratch. For secondary succession, it's very, very fast as regards to getting to the climax. Are you with me? Now lastly, for primary succession, it is usually found in ponds, it is found as vegetation on rocks, it is found in estuaries as well. And the factors that foster these are tornadoes, erosion, drought, cyclones, etc. For secondary succession, they are usually found in abandoned farmland and grassland. They are usually found in abandoned farmland and grassland. They are usually found in abandoned farmland and what? Grassland. Are you with me? So now we'll be able to establish the definition of ecological succession. You and I will look in-depthly at climax community. We'll solve through the word of the characteristics of succession, and we now know the various types of what? Succession. We now know the primary succession and the secondary succession, and we also know the differences between them. Are you with me? So now basically, we're now going to be looking at the major communities in a plant succession. That's what we're going to be looking at. So I will need to clean up the board and write some other stuff. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at the major communities in a plant succession. What do I mean by the major communities? I'm talking about the component of the community in a plant succession. So number one is the pioneer community. The pioneer community. As I said earlier, the pioneer community are the invaders. They are the first organism to colonize a bare land, a land that has not been used before. Now, what are the characteristics of this pioneer community? One is this: they are lower organisms. Take note, they are what? They are lower organisms. And most of them, they have a substratum, they have specialized structures, so to speak. So they are lower organisms. They are not as diverse in structures compared to the other organisms that will come replace them. A very good example is the algae and the lichen. The algae and the lichen. Now, number two is what we call the developmental communities. Developmental community. These ones, they are very, very diverse in structures, in forms and composition compared to the pioneer communities. Examples are the Ageratum conizoides, known as the goatweed. We have the Impyrenta cylindrica. We have the Sonopes compressors. We have the Penicillium purpurea. So they are all what? Weeds basically. The goatweed, elephant grass, lemongrass, and so on and so forth. So they are the developmental organisms. They are the ones that will come in to replace the pioneer community. Are you with me? So lastly, aside the developmental community, we have the climax community. The climax community is the last form of community that is seen. This community is stable in nature. This community exists in equilibrium. Examples of organisms that are seen are trees and shrubs. So briefly, let me quickly talk about the outcome of succession. Now, when organisms get to replace one another and so on and so forth, what is the outcome? What is the consequence of this act? Number one, a new habitat is formed. Number two, I'm actually talking about the outcome of succession. Number one, a new habitat is formed. Number two, the organisms are replaced. Number three, there is room for diversity. Number four, a climate community is reached. A climate community is what? Is reached. Again, we have three components of community in the plant succession. We have the faunal community, the first. We have the developmental community that comes next, or the transitory community, so to speak. Then last we have the climate community. So now we're going to be looking at overcrowding, factors that affect overcrowding, effects, food shortage, family planning, and birth control. Stay tuned. So now we'll be looking at overcrowding. But before we deal extensively with overcrowding, a few questions will pop up on your screen. Try as much as possible to do the needful. Overcrowding. What is overcrowding? Now, overcrowding is simply a situation whereby the population of organisms is greater than the available resources. Let's say, for example, now we've got 5 tubers of yam. I will have like 200 people. How can 200 people survive on 5 tubers of yam for like a month? That is a disaster. So basically, when the population of organism is increasing, it's far increasing and far exceeding the available resources, then that situation, that phenomenon results in what we call overcrowding. Overcrowding is simply the increase in number of organisms compared to the increase in number of food resources. When food resources are limited, when resources needed to survive such as space, shelter are limited compared to the adverse increase in number of population, we say such a situation or phenomenon is called overcrowding. Now, what are the factors that foster overcrowding? What are the factors that support overcrowding? One of them is high natality. Natality simply means birth rate. Birth rate, to give birth, birth rate. So high natality, when there is increase in birth rate, over time, definitely overcrowding will result because people will be more than available resources. We also have increased food supply. When food supply are increased, definitely people will eat well, people will feed well, and people will reproduce well. So we see a high number of organisms in the society or in the environment, so to speak. Decreased mortality. When the number of organisms that tends to die over a period of time is limited, is shortened, is reduced, definitely we have overcrowding. Absence of predators. Predators are bigger organisms that feed on smaller organisms. To a layman, although there are some smaller organisms that feed on bigger organisms. Now, predation, what it does is to reduce the population of organisms. Now, if predators are absent, over time, what will happen? The population will increase drastically. So those are the factors that favor overcrowding. Now, what then is the effect of overcrowding? Number one, there will be shortage of space and food because more people are available and resources are limited. Diseases will be spread. Imagine like 100 people staying in a particular room. Diseases will be spread. There will be competition. People will be competing for many things. And even in real life, people compete for girlfriends. People compete for boyfriends. How much more plant and lower animals? Now, lastly, it will result to death. It will result to death. Most times we've seen issues of stampede when many people will be present in a particular room and all of a sudden fear will set in and they start pushing themselves and lots of people will die. So death, competition, shortage of space and food, and diseases will be spread. Food shortage. What is food shortage? Food shortage simply means when limited food is available. When limited food is supplied, we say such situation is what? Food shortage. What causes food shortage? Overpopulation. Too many organisms chasing limited supply of food. Overpopulation. Flood. Flood could as well cause it. When flood happens, it's just like erosion. It washes away the topsoil. Every of our agricultural produce that we want to consume, it washes them away and it spoils them. And lastly, pests. Pests is any organism that destroy our crops. When there is presence of pests, pests destroy our crops. Over time, there will be food shortage. Now, what then is the effect of food shortage? Number one, competition. When there is food scarcity, many people will compete for food. Many people will compete for shelter and many other things. Scarcity of food. When there is food shortage, we are basically saying there is scarcity of food. And lastly, we have what we call decline in reproductivity. Decline in productivity. When people are not able to feed well, when people are not able to get things that are essential for them, there's no way they'll be able to reproduce very well. Because many of them will even die off before that particular time. So lastly, we're going to be looking at family planning and birth control. Family planning and birth control. The word family planning has now become an household need. Virtually every family has heard of family planning, except those that are illiterate, so to speak, or those in areas where media could not penetrate easily. But I dare to say that almost every family in townships and rural areas has heard of family planning and birth control as well. So now, what is family planning? Family planning is a device. It could also be, how do I call it? It could be a kind of system that is devised in which what couples determine the number of children they want and when they want them. And note the use of the word couples. Couples. It is actually meant for married men and married women. Now, for it to be done outside marriage is an abuse. But this is Nigeria, a nation where anything goes. So family planning basically is a device by which couples determine the number of children they want and when they want them. The number of children they want and when they want them. Now, gone are those days where couples will give birth to like 12 children, 13 children, and they don't even know their name. They only know them by number. Number one, number two, like that. But now we've got into that era where an average family wants to give birth to like 2 boys and 1 girl. Or probably 2 girls and a boy. And some want to just get to give birth to a twin, that's all. And some just one child. Are you with me? Now, what is really the concept of family planning? Now, family planning is there so that you'll be able to like give your children the best of education, so that you're able to give your children the best of food, so that you're able to give your children qualitative life and not just quantitative life. Gone are those days where people give birth to children and they can't even cater for them. And now we're in that era where catering for children that you have not even given birth to is now core. Are you with me? It's now what? Very, very core. So family planning is a device by which couples determine the number of children they want and when they want them. Now, the word device talks about a kind of system, a kind of methodology, so to speak. Now, we've now come to the next one, birth control. Birth control. Birth control simply means the various method or system that are used to control birth. The various method or system that are used in determining when to give birth to a child, how to give birth to a child, if not to give birth to a child. So birth control is a method used to prevent a woman from becoming pregnant. Take note, men don't get pregnant. It is women that get pregnant. So birth control is applicable only to women. Are you with me? So birth control is a method used to prevent a woman from becoming pregnant for as long as she wishes. For as long as she wishes. Now, how then will this be possible? What are the various methods or various devices that could be used in order to get this result? What is the result? Not being pregnant. Despite the fact that you are undergoing sexual intercourse, and despite the fact that you ought to be pregnant, but you're trying to prevent it from coming into fruition. Now, how do you get it? One of the various ways by which you can get this is withdrawal method. Now, I would be saying some things that are actually rated 18 plus, rated 18. And so you need to sensitize your ear, your eyes, and every other thing. I'll try as much as possible to talk about all this with simplicity. Now, what is withdrawal method? Withdrawal method simply talks about a man and a woman having sexual intercourse. Take note, they are married. A man and a woman having sexual intercourse. Now, it gets to a point, the man wants to ejaculate. Now, what is ejaculation? Ejaculation is basically the release of sperm. The release of sperm from the male penis. Now, when the sperm is coming, the man takes note of the fact that the sperm is coming and he moves elsewhere. He moves his penis away from the vagina. He pours his sperm away. That's what we call spillover. He spills it away. He doesn't pour the sperm in the vagina. However, this method is not reliable. Why? Because the man might probably be enjoying it. He might be so deep into that and he might not remember that the sperm is coming. And so when by the time he gets conscious of himself, the deed has been done, the sperm gets in, luckily it fertilizes an egg, and luckily the woman gets pregnant, and they all live happily thereafter. Now we look at the other one, the safe period. What is the safe period? The safe period simply talks about you taking account of your menstrual cycle. It is not for men, it is for women. Are you kidding? It is about you taking cognizance of your menstrual cycle. Now, usually, if your menstrual cycle is like 10 days, if your menstrual cycle is like 18 days, it experiences a difference. It won't be 18th of next month. There could be a difference like +5, it could be -5, like +10, like that. But usually it is not always same day. But there's usually a slight difference. And so when the lady comes, gets to visit a man, and the man asks the lady, "Are you in your safe period?" And the lady says, "Yeah, I think so. Now she might be saying "I think so," and she might not be sure. It is possible that she has miscalculated. She might be thinking it should be probably next week on the 18th, and not knowing that it is today, 10th. Are you with me? So by the time they get to Migrimo, by the time they get to have sexual intercourse and the deed is done, they will live happily thereafter. She might probably become Iyasule, Iyakafaya, or Iyamojino, as the case may be. And now, safe period is also not safe. Withdrawal method is not safe. Safe period is not reliable. Now we move to the next one, condom. Okay, so now the third on our list is the word condom. Condom has become an household name. It is usually publicized on TV, on radio, everywhere. You and I know what is condom. Even a 5-year-old knows what a condom is. Now a condom is a protective sheet. It is usually worn by men. It is usually worn by men. A condom is a protective sheet. It is usually worn by men. Now, what is the essence of this condom? The essence of the condom is to protect the sperm from getting into the vagina. They get the condom, they wear it on the penis edge. When the sperm is coming, it stays in the condom sheet. It stays in the protective sheet. It does not pass through. Are you with me? Now, basically, condom helps to prevent venereal diseases and sexually transmitted diseases. But the issue is this: one thing, condom is reliable. However, these days, it could just get punctured. It could have a little hole, and before you know it, the sperm, the seminal fluid will pass through, and they all live happily thereafter. The woman becomes pregnant. But however, it is still reliable. Now, just like we have condom for male, we also have condom for female. There have been newly developed condom for female, and they are called CAP. Now the female wears it on their vagina, so no matter how the man tends to penetrate, the sperm will not get into the vagina. We also have the spermaticide cream. The spermaticide cream, just like you cream your body, they also have what we call spermaticide cream. This cream is usually used by females. They apply it on the vagina. The implication of this is this: when the man releases the sperm cell, when the sperm cell touches this spermaticide cream, it dies off. Are you with me? So basically, the spermaticide cream will kill any sperm that is trying to penetrate. It will kill any sperm that is trying to come into the vagina. We also have the intrauterine device. Intrauterine device. It is a particular structure, a complex structure that it will be injected, or it will be positioned into the female vagina. As long as a woman has this, she will not be pregnant. Despite copulation or every other thing by the man towards her, she will not be pregnant. We also have contraceptive pill. Contraceptive pill has been in the equation for a very long time, so to speak. It has been in the equation for a very long time. Contraceptive pill are taken usually daily. They have to prevent pregnancy. They suppress hormones such as testosterone and estrogen. And lastly, we have sterilization. Now, what do I mean by sterilization? Now, it is actually possible. There is something we call vasectomy. Now, what is vasectomy? Vasectomy simply means you prevent the passage of sperm. The sperm passes through the seminiferous tubules. There's something called the tube, or let me just say sperm duct. Let me try and break it down. Let me make it simple. The sperm passes through the sperm duct. Now, this is what happens for sterilization. If, for example, this is the sperm duct, before it gets here, the sperm is coming. They will break off this side. They will clip this side. So at the end of the day, we would have something like this and something like this. So when the sperm is coming, it cannot pass. It cannot get to this place. So the process of breaking the sperm tube, the process of clipping the sperm tube to prevent the passage of sperm, it's a good way and it's a good method called sterilization. However, it is very expensive. It is a surgical operation. but before it has to be done, it has to be carried out surgically. Now something happened some months back. We call these people the family of Georgia, Georgia in United States of America. So what really happened is this: the man and the woman, they already had 3 children, and so they decided that okay, we don't want to give birth again, but we still want to be enjoying sex. We still want to be enjoying sexual intercourse, romance, and every other thing. And so they agreed. The man went to meet the doctor. They carried out this surgical operation called vasectomy. And it's very, very expensive but reliable. Now they carried out, after they carried out, its pelvic structure became something like this. The kidney became something like this, so to speak. It became something like this. Now, do you know what happened? After they started having sexual intercourse. But one day, people will say one day, monkey will go to the market, it will not return. On that very day, the woman started feeling somehow. She started showing symptoms of pregnancy. Now she told the husband, I don't know what's happening, I'm just vomiting, I'm weak, I'm this, I'm that. And the man, deep in his mind, was saying it can't be, and she can't get pregnant. After all, I've carried out vasectomy. So I'm not sure, it can't be. Now, do you know what this man did at night? He knows that usually ladies tend to go to they make use of the toilet at night, so she has to urinate. And in every home in America, so to speak, I dare to say, in every standard home, there is what we call pregnancy kit, there is condom. Those things are actually there for them because they use it for protection. It is not just the way we abuse it over here in Africa. So at night, it just went straight, it disconnected the water supply. Normally after a woman has finished urinating, she ought to flush. So when she urinated, she tried flushing, but water wasn't flowing. So she just went to sleep. At that particular time, the man woke up, he went there, he took part of the urine, he made use of the pregnancy kit, and lo and behold, he showed positive. It was like, ha, what is happening? You mean my wife is pregnant? But I've done vasectomy. How come? How did it happen? And now, for an average American man, they don't act rationally. They love confirmation. Do you know what he did? The following day, he went to see the doctor. He took part of the urine. The doctor did an official test on it, and it became official. It is official. Your wife is so weeks pregnant. And the doctor gave him a letter. Now, do you know what this man did? I so much love this man. He went straight to an expensive flower company. He got a collection of flower, a beautiful collection. So when he got home, he went straight to the wife with the flower at the back. He went down on the knee and he said, my woman, you're pregnant. I know it's a miracle, but I love you. So what am I trying to say? Even the best of all surgical operations failed. The best of all surgical operations failed. This is very, very reliable. It is highly reliable, but it failed. Very, very reliable, highly reliable, but it failed. So what am I trying to say? If you know you're not married yet, don't just don't have indiscriminate sex, don't abuse sex. Now, sex is basically meant for marriage, and you should keep it that way. So can we just take a look at it again? I have the withdrawal method, I have the safe period, we have the condoms, the cap, the spermaticide cream, intrauterine device, contraceptive pill, and one sterilization when you sterilize the body so that sperm will not cover one another. So it's been a great and a wonderful time out with you. Some questions will pop up on your screen. I try as much as possible to attend them. And should you be having any problem, just go through the video over and over again. I love you.